All right, welcome into the crossover. That right there to my left is NBA veteran Keyon Dooling. I'm your boy Tende Tony, and on the line today we got the one and only Mo Dakhil. He's on Bleacher Report. He's on Offside. He's got his own pod, Double Dribble. What else are you on, Mo?
I'm on NBA TV every few weekends on random weekends with me, Zach Harper, and Alexis Morgan. We do kind of a whip around show. All that. Don't shake your head about Zach.
We're gonna have Zach on the program, but we want to get you in first.
Well, no, I appreciate that part. Definitely get me in before Zach. But we're on NBA TV doing a lot of fun stuff and just all over the place, man.
You can follow him at Mo Dakhil _ NBA. Mo, a lot to get to in the association. We've got Ja Morant rumors. We've got the Giannis booing situation. We've got LeBron, Austin Reeves, and Rich Paul. I want to start here locally. Obviously, we're in South Florida. And the Ja Morant situation is very interesting because Shams came out and said the Grizzlies were finally open and interested to maybe move him. There's been a lot of buzz that the Heat are interested. They don't want to give up too much on the asset front or picks front. And then all of a sudden, there's been social media buzz, KD, that a trust in Ja Morant's name has just bought a $3.2 million house in Miami. So a lot to kind of go around with the smoke of Ja to Miami, question mark?
Yeah. No, the first thing I'll say about the trust part, like trust is like supposed to be sterling. It's supposed to be anonymous. So maybe he's got an untrustful trust. Because it's ridiculous that was found out unless they wanted to kind of get that out there.
I think they kind of wanted to get that out there. I think they want to sort of part of this. I think is a ploy, Katie, in the sense of we don't want anybody else to make offers. He wants to go to Miami. Already has a home in Miami. Already kind of set up. Like when this stuff sort of starts percolating, this is when I'm like, oh, okay, like they're trying to make it so that he gets to his way and goes to Miami versus anybody else making an offer like, Sacramento doing something crazy.
Mm-hmm. What's the validity to the Heat's offer? Can Memphis just get kind of steamrolled with an offer of Terry Rozier's expiring contract that we don't know if the Heat can trade right now via the NBA and Simone Fontecchio? Like there's no way that Ja Morant can be had for that.
No, like that's like, listen, I get what the idea of like, let's give you our lowest offer and see where we go from here. If that's what Memphis gets for Ja, like they're better off just holding on to Ja. Like, let's just be honest with where you're at. Despite, the problems maybe in the locker room in terms of just, him and the coaching staff not necessarily seeing eye to eye or whatnot, I think it's more along the lines of like, you have to try to get some value for him. He's better than Trae Young. I think he might not get you a draft pick, which is what Trae Young went and didn't get the Hawks a draft pick. Mm-hmm. But he's got to get you players that are better than Fontecchio and Rozier, who, again, we have no idea what his situation is even at this point. So I feel like if you're the Grizzlies, you got to find a way to get a better deal than that.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, buddy. So I'm sure you saw kind of the altercation that happened on the court between Ja and one of the young boys.
Vince Williams.
Vince Williams. How, like looking at that, right, from the outside looking in, you're talking about like your franchise player, your max player having a back and forth, with a young player who I'm not really familiar with. I know the Grizzlies have a lot of young talent over there and things like that. But just from a credibility standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, and from a relationship standpoint, do you just think that like the time is up for Ja in Memphis, and do you think that the players and the organization alike have kind of lost respect for him?
I feel like you're beginning to see it. First off, we've seen dust-ups before like this, maybe not like this exactly, but, there's always these kinds of things. You've seen it, being in huddles and practices and all over the place. I've seen it as a video guy. The first rule I learned in coaching, this was in junior college, was don't step in between a fight. Right? Because like I'm the one that's going to get hit because, my dumb ass did it the first time I saw one, I ran in thinking my little 5'10" ass was going to stop, a couple of, 6'5", 6'7" from swinging on each other. But like, I think ultimately this stuff does eventually get worked out, but the truth is just Ja's time has run its course in Memphis. And I think it's been coming for a while. I think that was the frustrations with everybody, with the off the court shenanigans, even before that with the stuff with, with his group, and they remember the issues with the Indiana Pacers, and then there's stuff with like his dad's, courtside getting into it with Shannon Sharp. I think there's been a level of frustration growing. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I blame the organization. Because I think from the moment Ja came in, and we've seen this with teams, once you get a young star player, you give him everything. Mm-hmm. Give him free reign. You don't really allow, don't really set boundaries. And you just, because you're so afraid, you're so first in awe of him, and then you're afraid you're going to lose him, especially a small marketplace like Memphis. You want to try to keep him happy at all times, but you don't create any sort of boundaries. And then when you're like, oh, wow, we've gone too far and try to rein these things back in, mm-hmm. you run into problems. Like, of course, the guy is going to be like, no, you guys never have done this before. Why is this an issue now? And I feel like we're beginning to kind of see all of this stuff come to a head at this point where it feels like there's no other option but to eventually trade him. If it's not at the deadline, it'll be in the offseason.
It just feels like Ja's a very interesting player where, like you said, that is all true, but then you have a lot of the off-the-field stuff that can just kind of push you to the edge where you're like, all right, his talent, even though as great as it is, and the advanced metrics, like his numbers haven't been great year over year, where you're looking and saying, is this a diminished player or is this a guy who's kind of done and quietly quit for the last couple of seasons, being like, why am I going to give my prime and my body to an organization that isn't really gelling with me? They brought in a new coach. They brought a new system. I didn't like it. All of a sudden now it kind of feels like it's Jaren Jackson Jr.'s team. They're trying to get me out of the way. So it just feels kind of like you said, a line in the sand of, all right, I'm done. So we got to figure something out here. So you're thinking, what's the percentage chance you'd say Miami is the place that John's up?
I don't know, because the funny thing about this whole thing of Ja wanting to go play in Miami, they're running the offense he hated.
He hates, right?
Like that's the thing, right? Like this is Noah LaRoche is the coach in Memphis who installed the offense where it was less pick and rolls. We're going to move. We're going to it's dribble drive constantly and things like that. He consulted with Spo in the offseason, and then the whole thing where the Miami offense changed this offseason or the season has been to this offense. So it's like, it's funny to me when Ja's turn. I'm like, have you watched the Heat? Do you what's going, like you understand, like their offense is the offense you hated. Are we sure this is the case? Like this is where you want to be. I think there's interest, obviously, on Miami side, because whenever a big name comes up, Miami always gets mentioned because they chase after it. And I think it'll be interesting to see what it is. I think the one thing I like about the fit with Miami is that's an organization that will create boundaries for him. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important because the off the field stuff and even though I blame the organization to a large point for the Grizzlies, I also blame Ja. Like some of that stuff is he's got to be, it's on him. He's got to be smarter about how he moves and things like that. I think that organization in Miami is not going to put up with those things and can try to get him back to that stuff. But then when we talk about the on-the-court stuff, because like you said, year to year, it's been bad over the past few seasons. And you're betting, if you're trading for him, that it's like, hey, it's just he was unhappy. It was all these things. We can get him back to where he wants to be. But there is that downside risk of like, hey, man, this is a dude that has always needed a ball screen to get downhill. He's not as quick as he used to be, even though he's still pretty young. The injuries, the shoulder injury, he's missed a lot of time. It's a risk when you're making this move, and that's why you're also seeing the offers not being there, and that's why the offers are. Yeah, like that's where it's like, teams are kind of like, yeah, we want him, but how much do we want him is or how much we want to give up for him is really the big question. So I think Miami has a good chance. One team I kind of like, and I haven't looked at possible trades or anything that I think might be an interesting fit, might be a team like Chicago. I think that's an interesting place where you can kind of just throw them in there and let's see how it goes there. Because, let's just be honest. The Bulls just live in mediocrity. Make the play-in regularly, get knocked out in the play-in or swept in the first round of the playoffs if they get past the play-in. Like, at least there's a little bit more juice there if you have Ja and if you can revive him a little bit. And I think Billy Donovan's a hell of a coach. And I think you might be able to find some good stuff out of that offense with Ja there.
KD, I know a place that we were talking about is Minnesota. Do you think that would be an interesting mix if they could try to move some pieces around to get John Minnesota? I don't know if the salaries match, if what they can do to offset that coming in. It was just a place that stylistic we thought could be interesting with Ant, with what they've got going on.
I worry about that for a couple of reasons. One, Ja needs the ball in his hands a lot. right? He's not really a great off-ball cutter and things like that. And I don't want to take the ball out of Ant's hands that much. I think if I'm Minnesota, I'm looking at a guy like, Kobe White in Chicago might be a guy I chase after. I'm looking for like a mid-tier guard that also, when I make a trade for him, I don't have to gut my roster to make the money work, right? Like Minnesota's really close. When you look at the wins they've had, they've beaten Oklahoma City, they've beaten San Antonio. Like I know they had a weird run where they couldn't beat anybody over 500, but now they're really killing it. And they have big wins on their plate. They've beaten Denver. They have the confidence of winning a Game 7 in Denver a few years ago. Like, they're closer than I think people realize. So I wouldn't even make a massive move. If you can bring in a mid-tier playmaker guard, to sort of help take some of that playmaking pressure off of Ant, I feel like you're going to put yourselves in a really good position in the West. So Ja might be too much, and I think might need the ball too much. And it might not be a great fit in general.
Gotcha.
Transitioning over to the LeBron situation, obviously your boots on the ground in LA. You're very much in these podcast streets. The Max Kellerman, Rich Paul podcast came up, and a lot of people were asking, is this kind of a mouthpiece for LeBron to be able to send out Rich Paul and be like, hey, say the things that I can't say publicly? Is that something that you feel has been the case? Obviously, I want you to lay the foundation for the people that don't know what's been happening lately with Austin Reeves, with Rich Paul, with the Lakers, with the entire situation.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. First off, having an agent podcast is kind of absurd to me. Just start in that realm. When this was announced, everybody was like, okay, well, what's he going to talk about? And I think that was really the curious thing. As a podcast, it's great. Great content, all of that stuff. If you're the organization that the Lakers are, you're just rolling your eyes every time a new clip comes out because it's constantly subtle jabs at the Lakers. And this the Austin Reeves one is the latest in terms of him coming out and saying, like, the Lakers should look at trading Austin Reeves for Jaren Jackson Jr., which, by the way, Memphis has not mentioned anything about trading Jaren Jackson Jr. It's been his own. And he came out saying it's a hypothetical thing, and he didn't mean offense to Austin Reeves. That's also after Austin Reeves' agent pulled up on him at halftime, just being like, "Hey, do you mind not doing that?" I think there's a lot of that stuff there. The underlining fact, though, is it's a problem for the Lakers because how closely tied he is to LeBron, and LeBron has come out and said, his views aren't my views. This isn't, he's his own man and he's doing his own thing. I love Austin, all of that stuff and everything, But at the end of the day, does anybody really believe that? Like, that's really the question, right? Like, how much do we want to believe it? How much do we want to think that's actually a thing? I find it a tough situation to put the Lakers in, but I think ultimately, like, I just don't know what you do. You can't tell them. You have no control over Rich Paul and all of this stuff. You got to go to Reeves and you got to talk to his agent, going like, "We have no plans of trading you."
Like, this is,
and I think
we're not leaking.
Yeah, like
so you guys get less money, or where there's some sort of negotiating leverage or whatever. It's like he's literally just doing his thing. Yeah,
and I feel like it's kind of a weird situation. Like there was a clip from a few weeks ago. He's almost talking about being like the shadow coach and was saying like, yeah, I made eye contact with LeBron and I told him I really like the pick and roll with you and Luka. And I'm just kind of like, I saw the clip and was like, yeah, that's genius. Nobody else has ever thought about let's get LeBron to set the screen more. Like it's kind of funny in that sense, but it puts LeBron in a weird spot. And I don't know if that's something people fully understand. Now, if LeBron's like saying like, hey, yeah, put this stuff out there, then it's a different story. But if this stuff is catching LeBron off guard, like you got to just imagine like one day he gets a text message going, have you seen Rich's latest clip? It's just like, you're just like, oh, yeah, you're just like.
I got an interesting perspective on it. I think like LeBron is kind of winding down to the end of his career. And I believe that like Rich Paul has to, be more of a household name post LeBron. He has to have his identity, right? He has to have his, post. Though he, Clutch has a lot of great players.
They've done that, yeah.
Yeah, they've got a lot of great players and things like that. But I just think that as it kind of winds down and, LeBron, his leverage kind of goes down, I think Rich is trying to elevate, his platform a little bit more because he's, historically they've been behind the scenes. They went from being, a posse, and a crew and all these different things. And, now they've kind of, earned their way, right? In order to, have a voice, especially, on the alternative media side of things where you don't necessarily need a major network to get your messaging out there. So I think it's a little bit of positioning as well, right? And them, kind of, exuding their power, but also kind of setting it up like where Rich can continue after LeBron is gone. Thoughts on that?
I think that's actually that's actually the reason why he's doing it. Right. And I think you're spot on with your analysis of that. I also just think, though, at the same time, I feel like you have that. You're the head of the Clutch agency, which has several players. On top of that, you can get anybody on the phone whenever you really need to along those lines. If I'm a player or if I'm a guy looking to sign an agent, or let me put it to you this way, if I'm a competing agent, I go like, do you really want your agent on a podcast airing out stuff? Like that might be listen, the agency game is very dirty in that way, right? Like how to poach clients and things like that. So I feel like there's some of that stuff. I think he has a lot of power at this point now. I think the problem is the power with the Lakers is gone. Right? Because before Luka got there, it was LeBron's team. It was all LeBron. Listen, the Russell Westbrook trade happened because LeBron made it happen. Now, he distanced himself afterwards, but there's stories of him interviewing Damian Lillard and meeting with Russ before even the trade, holding meetings, him, AD, and almost interviewing a third options, kind of situation. Now it's gone where it's really they're trying to build around Luka. You saw it in the offseason when he posted that tweet of kind of cryptically saying like, yeah, the Lakers are, we understand what the Lakers are doing, but that doesn't work for us kind of deal. I feel like they're in a weird position as an not the team, but Rich Paul is also kind of trying to figure out where he fits after all of this. But the podcast is a good place for him to start and keep himself. He's always going to be relevant, but keep himself visible is, I think, a better way of putting it.
In a post-LeBron world. If you're handicapping it, do you think that this is A, LeBron's final year, or B, does he finish his career somewhere else other than LA?
I think he finishes somewhere else other than LA. Part of me just thinks we're going to get a retirement tour of some sort. We're going to get some sort of announcement with that, with ahead of time of like, this is going to be my last season or whatnot. Obviously, there's the caveat, and knock on wood because I don't want it, but an injury changes everything. But I think there's one more year left, but I don't think it's with the Lakers because I don't think the Lakers are going to bring him back. I think they're going to sign Austin Reeves to a big contract. They're going to offer LeBron a contract, and he's going to find something else elsewhere.
Where do you think that places?
If I had to just guess without looking at numbers or anything, like, are we really going to just rule out a return to Cleveland, end it where it started?
We've been talking about the one place that he hasn't been able to get to because of either choice or just the way that the narrative fell with his career. But me and KD were both saying you wear that orange and blue.
The Knicks
finish it out in New York. You got maybe one final run. The East is wide open. Obviously, Detroit is a good team. They have not been super battle tested, and they're young. The Celtics, which I want to get to in a second, but New York is primed right now with a lot of injuries in the East to be that team that maybe are they a LeBron away?
Oh, I mean, that's next season, right? Like, I don't know if they will be, right? Like, obviously the East will be better next season when, Tatum comes back and ready to go for Boston and things like that. And who knows? Everything changes in the NBA within 20 minutes. Like, we're going to finish. There's going to be some massive trade, and we're all going to just be like, fuck, like, what just happened?
All right, run it.
Yeah, it's like I'll get a phone call. Hey, you available? Okay, I'll come right in. So it's. I think New York's an interesting one, but and to your point, Leon Rose was his agent before, Rich Paul left and started Clutch, right? So I think there is ties there.
Why West is over there as well.
Yeah, you got the whole
infrastructure in place.
You have it there. I just don't know if that's necessarily where he's going to want to go because it's still Jalen Brunson's team. There's a lot of guys around there. I don't know how it would work necessarily. Another piece to the puzzle. Mike Brown coached him, so it's another. Mike Brown's still there, so that's another piece for you guys. It's interesting. It's interesting. I just think the return home, and kind of like LeBron has always liked the stories and the narratives a little bit, that's a good one. But yeah, if you're the guy that brings the Garden a championship,
immortalized. You've had 4 different teams and lead them to a championship is insane. Between Cavs, Lakers, and Knicks, and getting the Knicks one, they'll put a statue outside of Fifth Avenue, the size of Times Square for LeBron if they bring him a championship.
The last thing I want to say about LeBron, because I know we're gonna segue out of this, but I look at this time that LeBron, at the point that he's in his career right now, I think that he feels underappreciated and undervalued from the fans. Right? I just don't feel like he feels the love. He had a quote last night where he quoted Jay-Z, maybe y'all will love me when I fade to black and things like that. So what I would love to see him do is, like, instead of being so reactive and so guarded, I would like to see him become a better version of his more authentic self. Like, right? Like, whatever it is that you want to do, whatever message that you want to get out, like, I want him to start saying it, right? I really want him to start being able to, stop being the politic game, stop necessarily trying to, move a certain way. It's like, okay, look, I'm going to play another year. I'll play another 2 years or whatever the case may be, and like kind of walk in that power, right? And then that'll allow the fans to kind of switch, and say, okay, well, this is his victory tour, so let's try and enjoy this last part of it.
Miss him.
Let's look at the players, because I looked at the way MJ did it. I looked at the way Kobe kind of did it. And at the end of their career, they were so much more touchable and reachable, than they were like when they were in their prime. It's an opportunity for LeBron. This generation looked up to him. A lot of these guys think he's the greatest player to ever play the game. And I just think that he could use this time to be a more authentic version of himself and stop being the Manchurian. Manchurian hooper. Like, dude, you've earned the right to say your piece, to kind of choose your path, and you don't have to do it stealthy.
Yeah, be real.
Start walking in that power. And I think, like, people will look at him a little bit different, that he's going out on his terms.
I think, Keyon, like, it's funny you bring that up, because I'm with you. I don't think we appreciate LeBron enough for just his greatness as a basketball player in general, just all the things he can do. And it's funny you brought that up. I just went and got a haircut with a new barber, and we were talking hoops. And it's been funny because in LA, he hasn't been embraced by the Laker fan base in the way you thought he would be. And I think part of that also stems from years of LeBron versus Kobe. Right? And so there is that rivalry. So even when he came to LA, a lot of Kobe fans were like, nah, he's not our guy. And I think it's funny. So it's like that's the thing that's a little bit difficult for him to navigate here in LA, just on that alone. But I think he just has a ton of haters. And I literally just told my barber, and this might have been dumb while he had the clippers in his hands, but going like, you're just a LeBron hater. Like, that's fine.
It's a lot,
but you're just a LeBron hater. Like, there's no way to, kind of splice it when you look at what he's done through the course of his career. I'm still blown away by the first team he took to the finals. It got swept by the Spurs, but it was never supposed to go. It was never supposed to go there. Right? That
Drew Gooden,
Boobie Gibson,
Mo Williams. Was Mo Williams on that team?
I don't even think Mo was on that squad.
I don't think he was there yet.
I don't think Mo was on that squad. It was like Flip Murray and
oh my God,
It was, and they took on. Yes, Ira Newble. They took on a Detroit Pistons team. He took a Detroit Pistons team that was a beast defensively, and I think scored like 28 straight points on them in Detroit at that point, and that was in the Palace. That wasn't in the Little Caesars place at the downtown Detroit. Now that was out in the Palace. Like you're talking about just greatness, and I'm with you. We don't appreciate him enough, and part of that is him with, like you're saying, the Manchurian Hooper, which I'm totally gonna steal.
Yeah,
That was great.
it's
Hey,
yours.
that was fire.
Yeah, it's no disrespect when I say that, but like he's so seasoned. He's been so perfect at
everything.
every intersection.
Yeah.
He's been flawless. He's handled everything. Like I'm at the point where I really want to see if somebody disrespects LeBron, like, okay, go ahead and put hands on him, get suspended. Like if you got an issue in the media, like go ahead, like you have earned your right. Like the haters, like start addressing them. Like I just want to see a more authentic version of him, because like if he retires and then he's taking those hardline stances on things like that, you're still gonna have those people who don't like you who will never be able to receive it.
Right.
Like at least say like, okay, I'm going out guns a-blazing. This is what I did. I put in work. Nobody can take all that. Like here I am in my whole truth. And I think that's when you'll see a even better, bigger version of him.
Yeah, and people maybe convert some of those haters.
Yeah, man. Like
I don't think you can. Trying to convert a hater might be the hardest thing to do, but I think that's also a gift. You don't have to. You don't need to try to placate. All right, forget him.
Yeah.
Who cares? Move on. Like whatever. Like I appreciate everything he does basketball wise.
I do too.
And I love watching him on the court. And it's now it's a little bit, obviously he's 41. Like it's a little bit agey, but like I still enjoy it. When I get to go to a Laker game and watch him play, it's something I know. Hey, we're only going to get this a few more years. I mean, a few more times. Forget years. Like we're down to like year or two maybe.
Yeah.
One thing that I was thinking of too, just really quick to tie a bow on the LA situation. It feels like to me that if Kobe wouldn't have passed away before his time, that he may have been able to give LeBron kind of the baton in a way that the haters don't really like. And there's no way for Kobe to do that now because it just feels like, boom, Kobe dies. LeBron is here, and it feels like there was no transition of power from one guy who was LA to his core to now a guy that just kind of came in and wanted to create a super team, and then everything that happened with COVID and the bubble and the championship. So it feels like to me like that was the breaking point. If Kobe was here to be like, nah, Kobe fans, I accept LeBron because he's the new wave of the future for LA basketball. I feel like that line would have been a little bit easier to cross to be like, all right, Kobe says it's cool, then we should be good. Like we didn't have that situation.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Obviously, I think there was attempts to that from Kobe, like showing up at the games and things and dapping him up. And when he passed Kobe on the all-time scoring list, like Kobe called. I mean, unfortunately, it was literally the next day where where Kobe had passed. Like there has been no ability, and there never will be, the passing of the torch. And I think, honestly, with Laker fans, the passing of the torch to them, and this is unfortunate, and it's not fair to LeBron, but it's going to be Kobe to Luka. Because they're not going to, nobody talks about the championship in 2020, and I get it, bubble, everything, all that stuff. Nobody in LA talks about it.
Wow.
Like, I almost forget from time to time that they won the championship in 2020, but nobody talks about it. And I think that's a missing piece to it that we'll just never be able to have.
Last thing I'll say about LeBron is the guys who played against MJ, like we stand up for him, like vigorously.
Right. No matter what.
Like no matter what. That's him, Jay. That's that black cat. Like we call him by the name. We always appreciate and love his mystique. Right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, he could stay up all night, play cards, go play golf, like do this,
and
go do
50.
that, and then go out. Like he don't like the mystique of it. Like to me, it doesn't seem like is all these young kids who kind of grew up watching LeBron and it was on his watch, you know what I mean, where a lot of them probably fell in love with the game. They don't champion, they don't stand up for LeBron the way that, the generations before, how we stand on business for Kobe, or how we stand on business like, around MJ and what he brought
Magic,
to the table.
Bird, right.
Yep, and that says a lot because, like, it's nice. Like, LeBron is very nice. When you're around him, he's very respectful of people and things like that. But I don't know if people got to know him as good as they might have got to know some of the other guys. And even though MJ and Kobe's personality was a little bit, like, more different than LeBron's, some kind of way, like guys were able to connect with them in a way that this generation doesn't connect with LeBron. And I feel bad for him, and I don't think he feels appreciated enough to keep championing the game for him. So I don't know if he'll continue to play, personally. I think they might love him when they fade to black, and if he's not able to go get a team and buy into a team, he might start they might start their own league. I said it.
I like that. I like that take. Mo, one last question before we let you go here, buddy. Biggest storyline outside of the stuff we've talked about, East or West, what's the stuff that you're looking at being like, okay, this is maybe for the next couple of weeks to month is something we should be focusing on?
Yeah, it's how wide open the East is, right? Like, I think that's the really big question there with what we're looking at. The Knicks have not looked great. They just got their asses kicked in Sacramento, which, on a small note, Sacramento with a couple of wins, Houston, LA, and the Lakers, and then the Knicks, pretty impressive for an organization that I think's literally in the toilet. The thing with the East is it's wide open. Now you have Boston kind of coming up. Detroit, nobody really believes in. Philly's playing better than people anticipated, and they've made the transition pretty easily from Embiid to Maxey, and Embiid has kind of accepted that and looks like he's slowly kind of getting back to some shape or form, which by the playoffs could be a problem, but it will always be a guard-oriented, started with Maxey-type team. Paul George is quietly playing really well for them in kind of more of a supporting role that we have, but like the East is quietly kind of, nobody knows what's going to come. Where at the start of the season, I was like, it's going to be the Knicks, and it still might be the Knicks. They might go on a massive run, and we'll ignore what happened in beginning of January. But it's just so open that I'm keeping an eye on it because it's who's coming out of the East. I think the champion is coming out of the West.
Yeah.
But the East, who are they going to face? Like, Cleveland hasn't really lived up to the expectations we had for them. Orlando's slowly getting it together, but not great. They're actually losing right now. No. Well, let me put it this way. There's no team I trust in the East.
Right.
Which is why then you look at it and you say Boston legitimately has a chance. I'm worried they're rushing Tatum back. Like, I'm a little bit terrified, but obviously I'm not a doctor or any of the stuff. I know he's working his ass off to come back before the playoffs, but let's see what that looks like.
There's a lot of money on that book if another Achilles pop happens.
I wouldn't.
It's too dangerous, man. Like, I think the way they talk about it, like, that's another year then. And at that point, I'm out. 2 Achilles back to back. Like, good luck, man. Like, this is brutal at that point. So I just think it's a little bit dangerous. But again, they're rolling, and Jaylen Brown played himself into the MVP conversation at the very least with the way he's hooping.
Crazy. All right, he's Mo Dakhil. You can find him on the Bleacher Report, on Join Offside, on his pod, the Double Dribble, on NBA TV. Anywhere there's hoops talking, you'll find Mo Dakhil. Mo, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Mo, you the man, champ.
Thank you guys for having me.
We need more of Mo.
How about this? We'll regale a couple Clipper stories next time you come on.
Ooh.
Oh, I got many. Can I just say this? Keyon, you're responsible for one of my favorite highlights from when you were in Missouri and that nasty dunk. Let me just tell you this. I remember this because it's like junior college 2000. I remember just kind of, I was working with the basketball team and watching this stuff, and I remember just going like, yo, did you see that?
Dude, this was pre-synergy and sports code and all that stuff anyway, man. But no, man, I appreciate that, man. To be young and athletic, the most impressive part about that dunk, bro, is I had a head full of hair. Like, so I had
we're all losing it.
The dunk, nothing.
You know, look at all the waves I had. Like, that was wavy, like Max B.
That was
Mo, you've been awesome, man. Thank you so much for joining us, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Mo. You're the best, bro.